Sometimes all you need is a good controller, a comfy seat, and an unforgettable single-player adventure. And let's be honest, the PlayStation 5 has been delivering some of the most stunning and immersive solo experiences of this generation. Today, we're counting down 10 of the best single-player games you absolutely need to play on PS5. From emotional roller coasters to jaw-dropping action, these titles prove why single-player gaming is still king. And hey, before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss out on any of our upcoming lists. Now, let's get into it. Spider-Man 2 is the ultimate superhero experience on PlayStation 5. Swinging across New York City has never felt smoother thanks to the insane speed and fluidity of the dual Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. The story dives deep into their personal struggles while throwing in iconic villains like Kraven and, of course, Venom. The real highlight is how seamlessly the game lets you swap between Peter and Miles mid-mission, each with their own unique abilities. Combat feels faster, more cinematic, and packed with stylish combos. The boss fights are huge spectacles that really showcase the PS5's power. Visually, the game pushes ray tracing and lighting to new levels, making nighttime New York look breathtaking. Add to that the emotional weight of the story, and you've got one of the finest single-player games ever created. If you own a PS5, this is simply unmissable.
Miles, the hunters tracked Connors to the Harlem Fish Market.
Blizzard. I'm on it. Sounds like Craven's checking off his.
We don't have much time. Move.
Guess we'll chat later. Genki.
Is not making this easy.
Deathloop, at first glance, might look like a multiplayer shooter, but don't be fooled, it's one of the most creative single-player campaigns on PS5. You play as Colt, stuck in a time loop on the island of Black Reef, and the only way to escape is to eliminate 8 targets before the day resets. The beauty of the game lies in how every loop teaches you something new. You'll experiment, fail, and slowly piece together the perfect run. The combat is slick, with Arcane Studios' trademark immersive sim design letting you play stealthy, aggressive, or somewhere in between. What makes it addictive is the constant sense of discovery, uncovering secrets, learning patterns, and finally executing the flawless loop. The art direction is stylishly retro-futuristic, and the soundtrack oozes 1960s spy vibes. It may have been misunderstood at launch, but for single-player fans who love experimentation and freedom, Deathloop is a masterpiece. Alan Wake 2. After more than a decade, Alan Wake 2 finally arrived, and it's one of the most cinematic and terrifying single-player experiences on PS5. Blending survival horror with psychological thriller, the game follows Alan trapped in the dark place and FBI agent Saga Anderson investigating mysterious murders. The storytelling is on another level. Remedy weaves live-action sequences, in-game visuals, and unsettling dream logic into something truly unique. The atmosphere is thick with dread, making you question reality at every step. Gameplay-wise, it's far more survival horror than the first game. Limited ammo, tense exploration, and a flashlight mechanic that feels essential to survival keep the tension high. The PS5 hardware really shines here, with ray-traced lighting that makes every shadow terrifying. If you want a single-player game that feels like both a novel and a horror movie at the same time, Alan Wake 2 is an unforgettable experience. Returnal is one of the boldest exclusives on PS5, a roguelike mixed with bullet hell combat and psychological storytelling. You play as Celine, an astronaut stranded on a hostile alien planet where death isn't the end. Every time she dies, the world reshapes itself, creating a new nightmare to survive. The gameplay is fast, frantic, and incredibly satisfying. The PS5's DualSense controller makes every weapon feel unique, with adaptive triggers that change firing modes and haptic feedback that immerses you in the chaos. What keeps you hooked is the mysterious story, drip-fed through haunting visions and cryptic logs. The game isn't just about skill, it's about endurance, learning, and persistence. It's tough, no doubt, but once you get into its rhythm, Returnal becomes one of the most rewarding single-player challenges on the console, a true showcase of next-gen design. Lies of P. Who would have thought a dark, twisted version of Pinocchio could turn into one of the best Souls-like games in years? Lies of P takes the fairy tale and transforms it into a grim, gothic action RPG with challenging combat and a fascinating world. The gameplay is clearly inspired by Bloodborne, with fast-paced melee battles, punishing enemies, and a focus on precision dodging and parrying. But it adds its own spin, like weapon customization and a narrative that changes based on the lies you tell. The atmosphere is stunning, a Belle Epoque city overrun with mechanical monstrosities, filled with haunting beauty and danger. The story is layered with choices and moral consequences that encourage multiple playthroughs. For PS5 players craving a tough but rewarding single-player experience, Lies of P is an absolute gem. Final Fantasy XVI is a bold reinvention of the legendary series. Forget turn-based battles. This is a dark, mature, fully action-driven RPG that feels closer to Devil May Cry than the Final Fantasy of old. You play as Clive Rosefield, a warrior tied to the fate of icons, massive, godlike summons that bring cinematic battles of jaw-dropping scale. The combat is fast, flashy, and incredibly satisfying, with combos, magic abilities, and iconic summons. The story is darker than previous entries, filled with political intrigue, betrayal, and personal tragedy. It's a mix of medieval fantasy and mature storytelling that feels like Game of Thrones meets Final Fantasy. While divisive among purists, there's no denying that Final Fantasy XVI is one of the most epic single-player RPGs on PS5, with production values that push the console to its limits. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Few games show off the raw power of the PS5 like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This action platformer is not only fun, but also a technical marvel, with instant dimension hopping gameplay that feels truly next-gen. You'll blast through hordes of enemies with an arsenal of crazy, over-the-top weapons, from the pixelizer that turns enemies into 8-bit sprites to the topiary sprinkler that freezes foes into garden statues. The creativity is off the charts. The addition of Rivet, a new Lombax hero, gives the story more depth and heart, while the visuals are Pixar-level stunning. The transitions between worlds happen seamlessly, showing off just how powerful the PS5's SSD really is. It's a joyful, colorful, and endlessly creative single-player experience that proves fun doesn't need to be complicated.
Put down the Dimensionator, Nefarious. Put down the Dimensionator.
Assassin's Creed Mirage. After years of massive RPG-style Assassin's Creed games, Mirage brings the series back to its roots. Set in 9th century Baghdad, it focuses on stealth, parkour, and assassination, just like the early classics. The The city itself is beautifully detailed, with bustling streets, markets, and rooftops designed for fluid movement. Parkour feels tighter and more responsive than ever, making traversal a joy. Combat is secondary here. It's all about planning your moves, blending into crowds, and striking unseen. The story follows Basim, a character introduced in Valhalla, and dives deeper into his transformation into a master assassin. For players who missed the old-school Assassin's Creed formula, Mirage is the perfect single-player experience, a reminder of why the series became iconic in the first place. Stellar Blade is one of the most anticipated action RPGs for PS5, and it doesn't disappoint. Mixing hack-and-slash combat with stunning visuals, it feels like a blend of Nier Automata and Devil May Cry. You play as Eve, a warrior fighting to reclaim Earth from monstrous creatures. Combat is fast, fluid, and highly cinematic, requiring precision and timing to pull off stylish combos. Boss fights are massive, filled with spectacle and challenge. But it's not just about combat. The game features emotional storytelling, beautiful environments, and a sci-fi world begging to be explored. The attention to detail and polish make it one of the best-looking PS5 exclusives to date. If you love single-player action RPGs, Stellar Blade is a must-play that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Dead Space Remake. The Dead Space Remake takes the beloved 2008 survival horror classic and completely rebuilds it for PS5. The result? One of the scariest and most immersive single-player experiences on the console. You play as Isaac Clarke, trapped on the USG Ishimura, a mining ship infested with horrifying necromorphs. The game's atmospheric lighting, terrifying sound design, and new mechanics like zero-gravity exploration make it more terrifying than ever. The remake doesn't just improve the graphics, it expands the story, fleshes out Isaac as a voiced character, and adds new side missions that deepen the lore. It's the perfect example of how to remake a game, respecting the original while pushing it to modern standards. For horror fans, this is single-player perfection. And there you have it, 10 of the best single-player games you need to play on PlayStation 5 right now. Whether you're into deep RPGs, cinematic adventures, or pure survival horror, there's something here that proves solo gaming is alive and stronger than ever. Which one of these games is your favorite single-player experience on PS5? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your picks. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this list, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our future gaming breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next take.